All right, so let's talk about the new Super Mario Bros. Movie. It's landed, and honestly, it's created this really fascinating puzzle. Because on one hand, it's a massive, massive success, but on the other, it is getting absolutely slammed by professional critics. So today, we're going to dig into why there's this huge divide. And it really all kicks off with this number right here, $34.5 million. I mean, that's what the movie raked in on its very first day. And we're just talking domestic box office here. Let me be clear, that is a huge figure no matter how you slice it, but especially for an animated movie. And look, to really get just how massive that number is, you gotta know when it happened. This wasn't a Friday night. It wasn't a Saturday. This was a Wednesday. A Wednesday opening with 0 preview screenings to boost the numbers. That makes it the biggest opening day of the year so far and a record for an April Wednesday. So, yeah, commercially, this thing is an absolute juggernaut. No question about it. Okay, but this is where the story gets really, really interesting. You've got the audiences, right? And they are absolutely loving it, giving it a huge 91% score. But the professional critics? A shockingly low 44%. Now, sure, some of that's going to be about, normal movie stuff, plot, pacing, whatever. But a gap this wide? That suggests something else is going on. I mean, that's not just a little disagreement. That's like a Grand Canyon-sized gap in how people are seeing this movie. So what gives? What explains this massive disconnect? Why are the people actually buying the tickets having a totally different experience than the people who are paid to review it? Is this just about what makes a good movie? Or is there something, deeper going on here? Like a cultural thing? Well, one of the biggest theories out there, it argues the split has nothing to do with film quality. At all. Instead, it's about a culture war. And this is where we get into the nuts and bolts of that argument. The theory basically says that some critics are having a negative reaction because the movie just feels too traditional, The hero's a regular guy, the main romance is straight, and it's being seen as, purposefully agenda-free, which is pretty different from a lot of what's coming out these days. This quote really just nails that perspective. One commentator said it like this: "This isn't pushing the current agenda that we have been hammering on to everybody for a long time." So the argument is, basically, by not having certain social messages, the movie's making a statement of its own. And that's what's ticking off some critics. And then you gotta add another layer on top of all this, something people are calling the Chris Pratt effect. The idea is that some of the negativity might have been baked in from the start, because some folks in the media just aren't fans of the lead actor, and that could be affecting the reviews before the movie even starts. Okay, so that's the big picture theory, right? The culture war angle. And look, to be fair, a lot of reviews did bring up normal criticisms. Simple plot, characters aren't super deep, that kind of thing. But the stuff that's really blown up online, the really intense debates, they're about some much more specific and, let's say, controversial takes. And get this, one of the hottest points of debate is about the main bad guy, Bowser. Yeah, the giant spiky turtle. The question some people are actually asking is he too villainous? And if you want to see just how deep this particular rabbit hole goes, check out this quote. A well-known critic argued that Bowser is too actually evil and said that he and his son kind of mimic the toxic manosphere. Wow. So the idea here is that his whole obsessive quest to capture the princess is actually a reflection of some pretty negative real-world stuff. Which, brings us to a really big question, right? Is this a legit modern critique? Is there actually a deeper subtext here with the villain? Or is this maybe reading a little too much into a story about a giant turtle trying to kidnap a princess in a movie that's, meant for kids? And honestly, this whole debate about Bowser, it's not really just about Bowser. It points to something much bigger, a more fundamental disagreement. It really comes down to, what is a movie even for, and who is it for? The legendary critic Roger Ebert had this philosophy that I think really gets to the heart of it. He used to say, a movie is not what it's about, it's how it is about it. What he meant was, you have to judge a film on its own terms. Is a kids' movie a good kids' movie? Does it actually entertain the audience it was made for? The rules should fit the game you're playing. And building on that idea, the argument goes that maybe some critics have just gotten so used to entertainment, especially kids' entertainment, having a deeper message or, serving as a kind of propaganda material, that they have a hard time judging a movie just on whether or not it's fun. So, when you boil it all down, what we're really looking at are two completely different sets of expectations. On one side, you've got the critic's role. Their job is to dig deep, right? To analyze the story, the message, the cultural impact. But on the other side, you've got what the audience wants. And a lot of the time, that's way simpler. Just be entertained. Just bring the characters and worlds we love to life in a way that feels right.
And all of this leaves us with one last big question that kind of sits at the center of this whole thing. When a movie like the Super Mario Bros. Movie comes out, who should it be made for first? The audience that's paying to see it, or the critics who are paid to analyze it? The answer you come up with, well, that might just explain this whole crazy situation.